A ticket to come up here. I was in northern Michigan earlier this week, flew all the way home, spoke 6 times yesterday, came up here just for this debate. I'm not going to make a penny off of this. I don't make money off of this. It bothered me a little bit knowing that you for 30 years have gotten your salary from the taxpayers of this area to teach evolution theory, and I don't take a dime of taxpayer money. That seems to me something's wrong with all this. I'm not a professional debater. I was just simply a high school science teacher who got fed up with kids being brainwashed with one particular theory. As far as the Hulk Hogan, well, you can see the resemblance is striking. I would think after 30 years of teaching this very topic, you would be the Hulk Hogan of the evolutionists. I mean, and you mentioned you might lose because you're outmatched. Well, for heaven's sake, this is what you teach all day, every day, and get paid for. None of my material is copyrighted, never has been. I never have charged a dime for any of my seminars, and I've never sent out a letter begging for money. That's been my policy since I started. And you mentioned, I don't know if it didn't get the quote down quick enough, but the university would have failed if they did not emerge having an understanding of, and you rattled off several things, and one of which was embryology. I trust you're not referring to what was disproven in 1874 about the ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. You referred to it again later as the homology of genes for embryology is evidence for evolution. I would really like to see you elaborate on that, because I think the homology of genes is evidence of a design, same design feature, same designer. Same designer made all these things. And you mentioned about the statement, how I portrayed science was incorrect. Again, I guess I like to simplify things. It looks to me like you're saying I lied about the way science is portrayed. Let me just spell it out very clearly. The scientific method, you said, and I agree, you start off with a guess. Then you compute the consequences. What would this imply? Then you would do some experiments, and the experiments must be repeatable. I agree. And if the experiments do not verify the guess, you throw out the guess. You get a new one. Let me tell you my scientific theory. I believe the evidence will show, after intensive investigation, that no amount of scientific evidence will ever show that matter can create itself. Therefore, there must be an outside source that created the matter. Now, that goes beyond science, goes into a religion, and the creationist says, yep, we agree, we have a religion, we believe God did it. Can't prove it, that's what we believe. What happens is, though, the evolutionist does not admit they have a religion in this area. Where is the scientific evidence to show where matter originated? Where is the scientific evidence? Where is it repeatable? You said you'd like to see things repeated 3 times. I'd like to see 3 experiments where somebody makes something from nothing. I would like to see the experiment where life learned or came from non-living material. This has never been observed. This is part of a religion. Evolution is the religion. They have to believe life came from non-living material. We've had numerous experiments with raising, pick any kind of animal or plant you'd like. All of the experimentation has taught us dogs produce dogs. Roses produce roses. Now, I suspect from what you have said that you believe somewhere back in the past, dogs came from something that was non-dog. You're welcome to believe that. What experiments do you have for that? What scientific evidence do you have to show us that a dog came from a non-dog, or that a dog can produce a non-dog, or pick any other animal if you'd like? If your expertise is woodpeckers, I'd really be curious on that one, since the woodpecker has the tongue that goes around his head and anchors on top of his eyebrow. What intermediate species do you have showing the tongue changing from normal bird tongue to the top of the head tongue? And where's the fossil evidence of anything besides a woodpecker? Anything intermediate? I mean, just within the bird kind. I mean, where's the evidence? If that's your expertise, I'd love to see some evidence on that. Experimentation for the origin of life, I think, the evolutionists simply believe matter either created itself or is eternal. Those go strictly against the first and second laws of thermodynamics. That's not science, that's religion. The evolutionist must believe life came from non-living material. He's boxed himself into a corner, folks. That's the only option. If you're going to exclude God, then you have to give a naturalistic explanation for how life got started. I've never heard him do that. Miller and Urey tried it years ago. There have been numerous experiments to try to create life. Total failures. What Miller was able to make after a very carefully contrived fictitious experiment where he made a fictitious atmosphere of 4 gases and left out oxygen purposely. We can go for days on that if you'd like. He left out oxygen because he knew oxygen would destroy the life. Problem is, without oxygen, you don't have ozone, and then the UV light destroys the life. You can't get life to evolve with oxygen, and you can't get life to evolve without oxygen. Looks to me like you can't get life to evolve. What he was able to make after this experiment was done, and by the way, he trapped out his residue each time so it wouldn't go back through because it would be destroyed again. It's not a natural explanation at all. He was able to make 85% tar, 13% carboxylic acid, and 2% amino acids. The amino acids will bond quickly with the tar or the carboxylic acid and destroy them. All he made was basically 2 amino acids, a few of others, but basically 2. There are 20 required for life. And they all have to be in a precise order and all right-handed or left-handed, depending if it's a sugar or a DNA molecule. And all he made was all a mixture. He got half right-handed, half left-handed. The chirality was all mixed up. It's never gonna form in life. And we can go for days on that if you like, but I just want to kind of hit the highlights here. I would say the experimentation has shown us, the scientific evidence has shown us, dogs always produce dogs, roses always produce roses. Therefore, the evidence shows us there had to be a beginning to this someplace, and it must have been the same kind of animal, because we've never seen an animal produce a different kind. So that goes right back to what the Bible says. God created the animals, and they bring forth after their kind. Now, I can't prove that, but all the evidence has shown us that that is indeed correct. I think the Genesis account is not nebulous on this. It tells us very clearly, God made the animals to bring forth after their kind. If you have an exception to that, I would love to see it. If you find a fossil in the ground that someone claims is intermediate, oh, I meant to turn that thing on. First place, when you find a fossil in the ground, you know a couple things for sure. It died. Now, you do not know if it had any kids, let alone different kids. All you know is it died. It's buried. The very existence of fossils to me is a powerful evidence of a worldwide flood because, again, fossils don't form under normal conditions. They have to be buried quickly. Let me get a few more things before I get into where I was leaving off here. Science and non-science. You must state a theory with detail. I agree. Evolution, macroevolution, is not science. It's non-science and nonsense. We've never seen this happen. Nobody's ever seen an animal produce a different kind of animal. But like I said, beer is sold at football games, and macroevolution is included in with science, and I'm sorry about that. I'm working on it pretty hard. I'm trying to get it out of there. Selection operates on variations only. I agree, but like I said, the variations have limits. And the selection process is not going to change it to a new kind of animal any more than GM's quality control will change the truck to a helicopter. It'll just make a stronger truck. That's all it can do. Neo-Darwinism, I suspect you're referring to Stephen Gould or Niles Eldredge or rebuilding of Goldschmidt's theory, punctuated equilibrium. If that's what you believe, then we'll talk about that in a second. But the textbooks show these family trees as if we all came from a bacteria. Even Mary Leakey, an evolutionist, said, all those trees of life with their branches of our ancestors is a lot of nonsense. Stephen Gould, the evolutionary trees that adorn our textbooks have data only at the tips and nodes of their branches. The rest is inference. However reasonable, not the evidence of fossils. Stephen Gould says there's no evidence, but they show these in the textbooks as if we all came. The humans, the birds, and the crocodiles had a common ancestor. That's propaganda. That's not science. All we know is humans have produced humans, birds have produced birds, crocodiles have produced crocodiles. Now, if you want to believe they got a common ancestor, fine, but I resent letting my tax dollars go to have that be taught to the kids in our school system. Glencoe Biology says all the many forms of life on Earth today are descended from a common ancestor. I don't believe that for a second. All I've ever seen is dogs produce dogs. That's all anybody's ever seen. So what the evolution